Hey, welcome in, people. What's happening? Wednesday night again. Guitar Center, not Guitar Center, Guitar Tricks sponsored lessons here with me, Dave Salentano. Already got some folks in the wings here waiting. All right, cool. Joshua, hello. Steve and David and Peter. All right, some of the usual suspects. Coolio. All right, so tonight we're on week 3 of 8 for this picking techniques series I'm doing. Tonight we're going to focus on economy picking and sweep picking a little bit. Okay, so real briefly though, last week, if you missed last week's lesson, we were working on obviously the alternate picking and crossing strings. So we kind of went over some basic licks like the old Yngwie Malmsteen, Paul Gilbert lick that actually I first heard it in Al Di Meola's playing. Race with the Devil in the Spanish Highway's got this lick in there, but it goes a simple little repetition lick, but it works with crossing the strings. 1 note on the 3rd, and then 5 notes on the 4th string. And you can just work that into your playing. Kind of like that. That kind of stuff. Anyway, you get the idea. Then we also worked on some other licks where we got several notes on the 2nd string and the 1st string. Trying to go with a bunch on 1 string and going right to the next string under it. Like that. And it's a good idea, too, to practice in little speed bursts like we did last week with that lick. Like you play a bunch of notes real quick and then kind of pause. Right? It gives your muscles a chance to relax, and it also gives you a chance to think about what you just played. Was it clean? Was it accurate? Or was it a little messy and mistakes? Make sure you're very accurate with everything. And then we also work with crossing instead of from a lower string to a higher to a lower. Hang on 1 sec. Let me shut this thing off here.
I found this on the web for make sure you're very accurate with everything.
Sometimes Siri listens when it's none of its business. Crazy, man. Then we also did this where you cross from a higher string to a lower string. Where you kind of descend. You go from the higher pitch strings to the lower pitch. Okay, so we covered a lot of neat stuff last week. If you missed it, it's week 2 of 8. You can go back into Guitar Tricks YouTube channel and look for picking techniques week 2 of 8. And then underneath the video, you'll see an area. If you expand the video, expand the text. Hey, Maverick, if you expand the text, you'll see an area where you can open up and download the curriculum, which has all that good stuff in there. All right, so enough of that, everybody. Let's go ahead and get on to the economy and sweep picking, okay? So we're kind of building stuff here. We're going to cover a lot of different picking techniques. We've been focusing on alternate picking up to this point, okay? We're also going to work on string skipping in the next few weeks, hybrid picking, and a few other things too. So take a look at the curriculum that's week 3 of 8. Expand the text box underneath your video and you'll see it. It's got 2 pages in there. Example 1 shows a real simple little lick in A pentatonic that goes like this. Okay, it doesn't, it's not anything jaw-dropping or anything like that. But the point is we're going to learn how to economy pick, or in other words, sweep pick. That's where you're going to do 2 or more consecutive downstrokes or 2 or more consecutive upstrokes on adjacent strings. It's usually going to be 1 note per string as we do that. So if you look at example 1, the first 4 notes is the pattern. It's 5th fret on the 2nd string to 1st, okay? And you can just bar your 1st finger. Don't worry about, in fact, dial up a clean sound. I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit so it's not as overdriven, because the notes typically don't sound good to let them ring when you've got overdrive. Okay, so I'm going to just turn down a little bit so we can just let the notes ring, and you should do that too. Because the idea with this lick, it's not really a lick that you're going to want to necessarily play, but it's a lick to develop, a little exercise to develop your picking technique for this sweep picking motion. And I'm going to give you some tips that are super important that a lot of beginners to sweep picking miss. And they think, oh, I just do a down on each string or an up, but there's more to it than that. And then as I see more comments coming in here, I'll try not to miss out on anybody here. Dennis is here. Cool, Dennis. Good. Hey, Roland. All right. Cool. You're very welcome, Roland. Yep. Terry, cool. All right. Hey, Jim. Cool. A lot of people just checking in. All right, Marianne with the Second Chance Band from Connecticut's here. Hello, Marianne. And Brandon, Zane, Terry Lee Bailey. Cool. All right, Theodore and Theen. All right, coolness. All right, so just try the first 4 notes, folks. You're going to play 2nd string, 5th fret with your index, and then 1st string, 5th fret with your index. You can just bar your finger. And your point here is that, watch my pick. We're going to do 2 downstrokes. And right above the tablature, you're going to see the little downstroke symbols. They look like looks like a square without the bottom line, or an open staple. Those are downstrokes, and then the V is the upstroke symbol. And you get to see my little notes I write on our curriculum here. Okay, so we're doing 2 downstrokes on that, but here's the deal. Watch my pick. We don't want to go down, down. You don't want to do 2 separate downs, because that's not where the efficiency comes in the speed. Where that comes in is you're going to go down, and look at my pick, resting on the 1st string. In classical guitar, a lot of times when they're finger picking, they rest on the strings above. See, as they're picking notes, they rest their finger, the pick, the fingers of the picks, right? They rest them on the string right above it. Plus, if you had to go down, you're already on the string to pick it. And I'm not really the best with the finger picking, but you get the idea. That's what we're doing. We're doing a rest stroke motion where you're going to go down, down. See, my pick goes right ahead. I keep my pick dug into the strings, and then I rest on the 1st string. Now all I have to do now to get the 1st string is just push my pick through it. If you pick individually, folks, what happens is you pick, your pick's floating in the air or somewhere between the strings, and then when you want to pick the next string, you have to find it, contact the pick to the string, and then push through it. If you just think about it like the name sweep picking implies, sweeping, like when you sweep the floor, usually you don't just do these little stabs at it, you sweep along, or if you rake, you pull the rake or the broom across the floor, make these wide strokes. That's what we're doing here. And we'll go a little deeper into this too. We're not just going to do 2 strings. We're going to get into many strings. So you got 2 downs. You got to get the basics first though, everybody. That's another problem I noticed too, is a lot of people want to skip the basics and just get to something that sounds, intense. Kind of like okay, before you can do that, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and frustration if you don't get the basic concept down. Okay. So you got to start with 2 downs, but it's really not 2 separate downs. It's 1 down like this. See, my pick never leaves the plane of the strings. I'm trying to go at an angle here so you can see my right hand. Now, in the second pair of notes, the 3rd and 4th note on that example, you're going to bar your 3rd finger on the 8th fret, same 2 strings, and now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to do 2 ups like this. Okay? We're not going up and just floating our pick. Okay? You're never going to get fast if you do that. You got to go up and rest on the 2nd string and then do another up. And then, as a matter of fact, rest on the 3rd string too, and then I'll stop your pick motion and then just kind of lean your hand the other way and then repeat. 5s with the down, down, and then 8s with the up, up. And notice how I changed the angle of my pick too. So when you're brushing or sweeping, you kind of pull the brush or the broom in the opposite directions of the bristles. If they're pointed this way, you don't want to push that way because then they're going to get all snagged up on the floor or whatever you're brushing over. It's like trying to pick 2 upstrokes like this. It's way easier if you angle it this way, so I have to do. It goes across a lot easier if you angle it like that. And then when I do my downstrokes, I just kind of rotate my wrist a little bit. See, if I don't rotate the wrist or change the angle of the pick, like if I try to do my upstrokes at this angle, it gets all stuck. If I angle my pick this way, it goes over real easily. And the same with my downs. If I leave my pick this way, it's very choppy and I have to hop over the next string to get to the next, okay? So it's super important to get that angle of your pick going and just kind of rotate your wrist. So when you do example 1, tiny little downs, and then rotate your fingers. You're putting your ring finger on the 8th fret, rotate your hand, get those. So looks like we're going to do that 3 times and end it like this. Okay, kind of simple idea, but you really want to get the basics of that. Okay, let me reach out and read these comments here. David's saying the recommended fingering and stretch in example 3 is really difficult starting much below the 12th fret. Hey, well then if you can't do your 3rd finger, David, or anyone else, don't worry about it. Play it with your pinky, all right, like this. Okay, or if you're up higher, like David's saying, maybe the 12th to the 15th fret is a little bit easier. Okay? So either use your index and pinky. If you can't make the 3rd finger stretch, use your pinky. And you're obviously going to have to bar it. Okay? And then try to play with a cleaner tone when you're doing that so you don't get the really messy sound of overdrive. Because when the notes ring, they don't sound as good. Okay, so that's pretty much the concept right there, folks. Now, let's get into some ideas that sound a little more musical. Okay, and let's start with example 2. One big, very common application for sweep picking is doing it with chord tones, arpeggios. In other words, you're playing a chord, but you're breaking up the notes individually. So, for instance, if you were holding an A minor chord, right, you could pick like this, all down strokes, kind of like House of the Rising Sun. Remember that older tune? Probably want to pick it 3 downs and then 3 ups. Kind of like you're sweep picking, but you got to skip a string. See how that works? Or if you're just picking something straight down and straight back up. See, like that? If I'm just arpeggiating the chord, but I'm doing all downs Okay. And then rotating it back up like that. Okay, so you get the idea. Sweep picking or economy picking can even work good when you're playing like your acoustic guitar or the electric guitar with a clean setting. You can pick the notes of the chord individually like that. And it makes it a lot easier than trying to alternate pick that, for instance. See how much more my hand moves when I alternate pick that? Okay. Now, if I were to sweep it, just all downs and all ups, instead of changing direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, I can just do 2 times. 1 and then 2. See how that works? Or actually, you can go 4 downs and 4 ups. See? You minimize the amount of motion. That's really the trick with all this guitar stuff, folks. Left hand and right hand is just trying to be efficient, smart with what you're doing. If for instance, on A minor to C, you realize, hey, the index and middle finger are the same position, same notes. I don't have to move those when I do A minor to C. Okay, then don't move it. I see some people when they play A minor to C, they go, and they take all their fingers off just to put them right back, the index and middle, right back where they were. They're wasting time. Okay, so think about that when you're playing. If you're doing things like that, always try to find the shortcuts and do them. You might have to take a few steps back to relearn stuff, but trust me, you're going to get better on guitar if you do that than being stuck. Hey, I learned it this way for 10 years. That's the way I'm going to do it. I can't change it. Well, you're kind of limiting yourself if that's the thinking that you're doing about that. So try to open up your mind and your guitar playing to the possibility that you might need to relearn some things and take a few steps back. Don't sweat it, folks. I've done that a lot I've been playing over 40, 45 years, and I've changed my picking technique many times. I've done a lot of things. I've changed a lot of things many times in my playing to make it better. And when I did that, sure, I had to go back. It was easier to play it the old way at first. But once I took many steps back, worked the new picking technique out real slowly, once I got it down, the floodgates opened and I felt like I lifted my playing to another notch, another plateau, another level. Okay, that's what we all want. Okay, so let me read what the comments are real quick. Dave's saying spanning 5 frets, not so hard. Spanning 6 frets is hard. Yeah, exactly, David. Yep, I get it. And then what is it? We got Zigot. Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, Sweet Madam Blue. I was trying to play that. It just came into my mind all of a sudden when I was just trying to demonstrate picking, using the sweep picking or economy picking for playing just rhythm guitar chords. If you're picking out the notes individually, all one direction. Like Sweet Madam Blue from Styx or House of Rising Sun, made popular by the Animals. Okay, so back to the ranch here. We're going to use arpeggios as the framework for developing our picking. And that's what the rest of page 1 goes over is little arpeggios. We're going to start with 2-string, and then we're going to do 3-string, and I'll play some bigger ones too in a little bit as well. But let's start with the 2-string one and just get it down. Okay, so we're going to use what we just did on the example 1. We're going to take the notes of an A major chord, A major triad, which is A, C sharp, and E. A common little finger shape for that arpeggio is right here in example 2. It's 10 on the 2nd string with your middle finger, 9 on the 1st string with your index, 12 on the 1st string with your pinky. Okay, those 3 notes. Okay, we can play those many different ways, as many ways as your imagination can go. Now, specifically, though, to develop our sweep picking, we're going to work with getting the 2 downstrokes going. So what we're going to do is pick the first note down, second note, also a down. Okay, remember, you want to dig your pick in so you're not going pick, pick. You don't want to do 2 separates. You're really doing 1 big down. Think about this too. How fast can you go between those 2 notes if you go down, up? Or maybe even try to go up, down. For me, maybe the up, down's a little quicker, but double downs is way easier and faster. I think it is for everybody, right? Because you only have to do 1 motion. You don't have to do down, then put the brakes on your hand and pull it back up, okay? Or even start with an up, put the brakes on and go the other direction. If you're moving that way towards the floor, it might benefit you to do a double down there, okay? That's what we're going to start out on that example 2 with. Then your pinky on the 12th fret is going to get the upstroke. And then we're going to do a pull off. Okay, so we got a double down, up on the 12th fret, then a pull off. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3. Looks like I've got that written out 3 times. And just do it slow. Do it with a metronome. I'll demonstrate that in a minute. But do it slow enough to play it correctly. Okay, listen. And then we end on the root note, the A. Okay, just dig your pick in. And then just work with that. Okay, now know this, that the particular arpeggios I'm showing everyone today, the root note, and this is important because I'm going to show you some other examples to expand off of that one shape. That root note is on the 2nd string. Okay, just reading the comments again. Second Chance Band says, I play House of the Rising Sun in my acoustic band. Great, awesome. Yeah, beautiful little tune. Yeah, it is a great tune, Marianne, for sure. Well, Barry, good to see you from Canada. Cool, cool. Picked up your Stew album. Oh, cool. My Guitar Stew. Yeah, it was my first solo album. I played in a few bands before then, and one of them is called Surreal. They're not together anymore, but we did an album together called Johari's Window, and you might be able to find it on Spotify or YouTube. But my first solo album was the Guitar Stew album. Glad you like it, Barry. It's a compilation of blues songs because I love the blues, but also some kind of funky rock stuff too in there, and a little bit of classical. I think I do the Lone Ranger theme, the William Tell Overture in there, and also I play a nice classical version of Malagueña on that too. So cool, Barry. Thanks for picking that up and thumbs up in it. Yeah, appreciate that. Okay, so just for example 2, everyone, that's an A major arpeggio shape, all right? Now, you don't have to know all the theory and stuff, but what we do want to know, folks, is slowly start to get to know your notes on the fretboard, okay? That's really the first step. If you know theory, and I've ran across folks that know the theory from reading it in a book or maybe from their other instrument that they play, but they don't know how it lays out in the guitar. Well, the first step for that, everybody, is don't worry about the theory part. Get to know your notes on the fretboard first, because the theory, once you know your notes on the fretboard, the theory will unfold itself for you, okay? So as we're doing these little triads here, I'm telling you that the root note's on the 2nd string. So if 10th fret on the 2nd string is A, that would be an A major shape if you do that shape. If we were going to do a G major chord or want to play over a G, okay, you'd have to find G on the 2nd string. This is where getting to know your notes on the fretboard comes in, okay? Don't worry about memorizing everything. Just take little bites off of it at a time. Try to find the G on the 2nd string. Well, if A is on the 10, go back a fret is A flat, 8th fret is the G. Maybe you want an E major. E on the 2nd string is at the 5th fret. Okay, maybe you want C major. C is at the 13th fret and the first fret on the second string. Well, probably not going to do the arpeggio there, but up here at the 13th fret. Okay, and the nice thing about guitar too, for anyone that's kind of newer to it, I'm sure the folks that have been playing a while already realize this, that there's a lot of geometry that repeats itself on the fretboard, where if you're doing these on a piano, the shapes wouldn't necessarily repeat and be the same. When you're doing that little A major triad with the root note on the second string, we're doing it on the top two strings here, the major for every chord, there's 12 major chords, okay? They would all look exactly like this, just depends where you want to play it. If I want to play a D major, I would start with the D on the second string, play it there. E major, F major, G major. Okay, so I'm just kind of knocking those out to show you how it's very easy to move the shape around. So spend time just getting the technique down, the double downs and then the one up and then the pull off. Okay, now let's take a look at example 3. This is the minor version of that. So I'm sure a lot of us know what makes a chord minor from major. Usually we kind of describe the sound of them like a major chord. Typically, all major chords kind of have a happy sound, real bright. Minor chords sound a little darker, kind of sad, kind of melancholy. Listen, A major, A minor. Hear the difference? Here's a D major bar chord. Kind of happy sound. D minor, sad. So what makes it happy and sad? Well, the third degree of the chord is what does that. So we did the A major was A, C sharp, E. The third degree is the C sharp. Okay. We're going to flat the C sharp, make it a C. And now we're going to play the same other two notes. The E, A and the E will be the same, but we'll lower the C sharp to a C. And that's what example 3 is A minor, using the pretty much the same area, but we're lowering the index finger a fret. So it also works out nicely that the fingering, the choice of fingers is the same. So we're using middle, index, pinky for major, and then for minor, all you got to do is lower your first finger a fret. So it's still middle, index, pinky. And you can hear the difference. Major sounds happy even when you do the arpeggio. A minor. Okay, so get comfy with A minor for a sec. And it's the same picking. Double downs on the second and first string. And see how I'm resting it? You got to rest your pick on the next string, even if we're not picking it. That way, when you're ready to pick it, all you have to do is just push it through. Okay? Okay, so we're going to do something with that in 1 minute. Those two shapes, major and minor, we're going to make a little melodic chord progression, a little melodic exercise out of that with a chord progression. Second Chance Band saying, I watched your Hotel California video with Gal at your recent party. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Marianne. Appreciate that. Yep. Yeah, if you guys search on my YouTube channel, Dave Celentano's YouTube channel, I don't do any lessons on there. I save all my lessons for guitar tricks and for my one-on-one lessons that I do. But the videos I post are just performance ones of various things. A lot of blues stuff, some classical, some metal stuff, so a lot of two-hand tapping. But lately I've been getting into the Spanish guitar stuff, and I played a couple tunes that are posted up on my channel. I did Malagueña with my friend, awesome Spanish guitar player, Gal Drimmer is his name. We did Hotel California Spanish style. We did Malagueña, and we did an Otmar Liebert song called Barcelona Nights. And they're all three of them are on my YouTube channel. So appreciate the listening and checking it out, Marianne. Appreciate it. David's saying, sorry, Dave, my previous comment was off the rails. I actually read the tab wrong again. There's a trend here. David, yeah, remember our lesson the other day? Yeah, just careful, folks, that we don't get too rushed to learn too much too soon. Make sure you're learning it accurately, because if you learn it the wrong way and don't realize it, it takes a little bit of work to backpedal, backtrack, and correct the notes. So, yeah, David, just it's all good. Trust me, Dave, and everyone else. I do the same thing when I transcribe a lot of classical music for guitar, and I'm looking at the treble clef or the bass clef, and then figuring out where the notes would be on guitar and working stuff out. So imagine doing that. I get stuff wrong sometimes, and then after playing through it, I realized, oh wait, because I always double check it, make sure it's accurate, and on the double check, I realized I had some parts maybe a note or two off, so I fixed those. But that's normal. Just you get better as you go. So very cool, Dave. All right, so let's take example 2 and 3 and make up a little melodic chord exercise with that. So we got major, we got minor, and there's how many songs use major and minor chords? A ton of them. If you're into Green Day, aside from the power chords, they play a lot of major and minor chords. A lot of pop rock, pop music has majors and minors in there. We won't get into the sevenths right now or the augmented or diminished stuff, but we're just going to focus on major and minor. Okay. Now, a common chord change, and I've played this before, is A minor to G to F to E. So let's take that chord change. Let's take that chord change and we'll do the arpeggios with it, the little triads with the sweep picking. So the first chord's A minor. Okay. And Steve, no problem. I just saw your comment. No problem being late. Glad you're here. Okay. And then Dave's saying EVH, I think he used sweep. It's actually sweep picking, David, with a P, not a T at the end. Sampson running with the devil solo. Love to hear you play it. Ah-ha-ha. Yeah, what is that? Yeah, I think, Dave. Yeah, there you go. Sweep picking. Something like that, Dave. Yeah, he might use the sweep picking there. He might do that. Good eye to point that out. Ed's not really a sweep picker in the way that Paul Gilbert or Yngwie Malmsteen or some of the other shredders would have done. Ed's strong point is his tremolo. Does a heck of a lot of legato, and his finger tapping, which also is legato too. All right. So you don't necessarily need to get sweep picking down to be a really good guitar player. You also don't need to finger tap to be a great guitar player. Just find your niche, your sweet spot, the stuff that you like, and run with it. Get really good at whatever it is that you like, and just dig deep. Try not to get caught up with doing everything that everyone else is doing, because you spread yourself too thin, you're probably not going to be really good at any of it. So focus on a few things, if that's what you like, and get them really good. And once you're good at that, then you can try the other stuff. But trying to do a little finger picking and in jazz and in heavy metal, and you're just mixing up too many different things that leads to a little more confusion than necessary. Just focus on, if you like metal, then just focus on getting really good at that and all the techniques and things involved with that style to get good at it. And then from that, you can use that as a launch pad into other stuff. Like I do a lot of blues playing with almost all my students, because the blues is a launch pad to rock, to jazz. It uses a lot of basic theory that can get more complicated in jazz. And it also has some fundamental things that are used in rock all the time, because rock is based on a lot of blues stuff. So just think about using, get good at something, and that's a stepping stone to other things in your playing. Okay, so what we're going to do here is take the A minor, G, F, and E chord progression. Remember, I said the root notes were on the second string. So the first chord's A minor. Where's A on the second string? 10th fret. So we're going to do the minor shape because it's A minor. We're going to do this. Okay, next chord was G, major. So we're going to find G on the second string, 8th fret on the second string, and we're going to do the major shape. So it's the same shape as example 2, but we're back 2 frets. So these little triads, the way I'm doing them tonight, they look like little triangle shapes, right? The minor one looks like sort of an even triangle where there's 2 whole steps between the index and middle and ring. I mean, middle and pinky. The major one, though, looks like a asymmetrical triangle where there's a half step between the index and the middle finger. In terms of the frets, there's 1 fret. Let me say 1 fret, not half steps, because we're on different strings. So that would not equate to the half step and whole step I just said. So it's actually 1 fret and then 2 frets from your middle to your pinky. The minor one is 2 frets from index to middle and 2 frets from middle to pinky. So just kind of remember those 2 shapes and you're off and running. A minor would be the 10th fret on the second string. G major will be the major shape on the 8th fret second string. The next chord's F. F is on the 6th fret second string. You're going to do the major shape for that. Just move the G one down 2 frets. It's the same shape because they're both major. And then the last chord is E major. That's also major. And the E is on the 5th fret second string. So from F, you just got to move the shape back 1 fret. So let's hear what that sounds like. I'll play each lick 3 times and then end on the root note with a little pause and then back. So we're going to go. Okay, maybe, how about we don't pause and we'll do each one twice, like this. Switch. 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 Let's try it again. Watch my pick. See, when I do the double downs, I'm not doing. That would be 3 separate motions. Down, down, up. But we're reducing it to 2 motions by doing that double down right there. It's like one big down instead of 2 separates. So you got this. You could end it on the root notes, 1st string, 5th frets. You're right. Okay, that's a good chord progression. Very simple. It just moves them right down the line. You can do this with any chord progression you got. Okay, and then of course there's also inversions of these triads. That's a whole other thing, but you can also sweep pick those. That'll be for another day though. Okay, so let's jump down to example 4 and 5. We've got A major and A minor again, but now we've got 3 strings. And we're going to work with not just downstroke sweeps, but we're going to work with upstroke sweeps. So the first shape we got is A major. Looks like a little D shape on the 9th fret, but we're not going to play the notes together. You're not going to let your fingers keep them down like this. Because when you sweep pick, you don't want the notes to ring out. Okay, even though that would be one way to do it. You want to actually finger walk yourself through the notes one at a time. And we're going to use fingers 1, 2, 1, and 4. 9th fret, 3rd string with your index, 10 on the 2nd string with your middle, 9 on the 1st string with your index, 12 on the 1st string with your pinky, pull off, then back to 10 on the 2nd and 9 on the 3rd. So we're just going to work with getting comfortable with that little shape. And getting that right hand to do what I just mentioned, the economy. You don't want to do 3 separate downs. And then, okay, that's too many motions. Okay, watch. You do 1 down and you dig your pick in. So as soon as I go down on the 3rd, my pick's resting on the 2nd string. Then when I pick the 2nd, I'm resting on the 1st string. Then I pick the 1st, just a little bit past the 1st. Rotate my hand the other way like that. Grab the high E at the 12th fret with an up. I rest on the 2nd string even though I'm not going to play it yet. Then I do the pull off. See that pinky pull off? Now my pick's already on the 2nd string. All I got to do is put my middle finger there. And finally, resting on the 3rd string, get the index on that 9th fret. Okay, so you got this look. We'll just work with that in for right now. Okay, and in example 5 does the same thing. We're switching to A minor though. A minor is dropping the C sharp to a C, and the only spot in this lick where that is the 1st string. It was the 9th fret for A major. Now it's going to be the 8th fret for A minor. Use the same fingers. We're going to do finger 1 on the 9th fret 3rd string, finger 2 on the 10th fret 2nd string, finger 1 on the 8th fret. Ooh, hear that note? A little bit darker. That's with your index. And your pinky with the 12th fret, pull off back to the 8. Then 10 on the 2nd string with your middle, 9 on the 3rd string with your index. Okay, don't worry about playing it over and over again right now. Just get the lick down 1 time. Make sure it sounds good first. Doing little speed bursts is a great way to get your chops up rather than trying to play something over and over again and it's just messy. Like maybe going like we did last week on these licks. Instead of trying to go over and over again, try to do a little burst. And then again. Okay, little speed burst. And then try to connect it together. So go like that's what we want to do here. So maybe do the arpeggio. Make sure it sounds good and clean. And then I'll try to repeat it. What I'm going to do, though, is start with a down, triple down, then I go 3 ups, and then I roll my pick over and just do a double down. Like this, watch. So I start with a down on the 1st note to get the whole lick started, but then once I come through and repeat it, I'll actually end with an upstroke on that note, which is the 1st note being repeated, okay? And then I go down on the 2nd and 1st string and then triple up. And see how I kind of keep my pick still, and I just kind of rotate my hand a little bit. So when I go down, the pick glides over the strings, and then when I do the ups, I just rotate my hand a little bit the other way, like that. Okay? Another way you can think about this sweep picking is when you strum chords, right? Think about this. When you strum downs, you're never hitting all the strings at the same time. We're hitting them one at a time. No matter how fast you go down on it, you're still hitting each string one at a time. You still hear a rake of the individual notes. Just the thing is, most guitar players, when they strum chords, they don't do them that slow where you can hear the individual notes. They play them quick enough where it sounds like one solid chord. But if you slow that down, it would be. See, that's the motion we're doing with the sweep picking, is we're just doing the strum, but we're a little bit slower and we're more exact, more articulate. Okay, let's try that with the A major. A minor. And you could apply that to the same chord progression. A minor, G, F, E. Maybe we got the A minor one. Another thing too, I like to flip these things around. Like, how many different ways can we play these little arpeggio shapes with the sweep picking? Sometimes instead of starting low, high, low, like that, I'll start high, low, high. I'll descend and ascend. So that was A minor, G, and F. Here's the E. Okay, so that's some good little exercises for everyone to chew on. Okay, I know we're wrapping it up here in a minute. So page 2, real quick, folks. You can also do sweep picking with rock licks and blues licks when it's appropriate, all right? So example 6 is a very super common rock and blues lick that I've heard everybody do. I know Ace Frehley and Kiss does that a lot. I've heard Gary Moore do this lick. Now, you can repeat it over and over again, kind of Freebird style. But you can also just inject some blues stuff to it, or string bits. So let's learn what the lick is. It's a 5-note pattern, and I've got it written 3 times, and then we end it on the 8th fret. String bend, 2nd string. So the sweep picking part, well, let's learn what the lick is first. And if you're into playing lead guitar and like rock and blues licks, this is a classic one that everybody, Jimmy Page, Randy Rhoads, Jeff Beck, I've heard everybody do this at some point. Eric Clapton, in one of their solos somewhere, this lick is there. So what you do is we're bending the 7th fret, 3rd string, a whole step. Then the 5 on the 2nd to 1st string. All right. And then the 2nd string is the 8th fret, pull off the 5th fret. So slowly it's this. Okay. Now, just for practicing it, you're going to want to repeat it several times. It's 3 down strokes. So you go down on the bend. And then see my pick resting on the 2nd string. Now I go down on the 2nd string, down on the 1st string, and then up on the 2nd string, 8th fret with a pull off, and then repeat. And you want to try to make it sound like 5 even notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hear Ace Frehley do that a lot. Okay, so that lick's cool. You can end it several ways after you do a few of them. You can bend the 8th fret 2nd string up a whole step. That ends up being the root note A that we're in. Or you could even do this. Bend the 8th fret 1st string up and then come back to the 5th fret 1st string. So maybe do that lick 3 times and then end it with like this. Okay, how about this one? I've heard Gary Moore do this. Start on the 1st string, go 5 on the 1st, basically playing the last 3 notes of the lick, the 5 on the 1st, then 8, pull off the 5 on the 2nd, then play the lick 1 time. Okay, so we go. And then bend the 3rd string 7th fret, then the 5th fret, and then that. So the last part is bending the 7 on the 3rd string, 5 on the 2nd, then bend the 7 on the 3rd string again with a release, pull off to the 5th fret, and then 7 on string 4 to end it. So you got maybe you could even end that a little bit higher. Maybe you go back. But that's how you combine licks. When Gary Moore plays that, it sounds like just an awesome phrase, but really it's just a couple licks stacked together. And that's really when you improvise, you're really are playing separate ideas that you already have well rehearsed in your hip pocket and just pull them out. Like the first lick, that's a repetitive lick that's good to do. All right. And then the second lick is the one we just did. Okay. And then this last part, then you string them together. Anyway, get the idea. A lot of that I just played you are just connecting ideas I've already have in my head, and you string them together, and you string them together differently to say other things. Okay, that's kind of the big tip with improvising, is the folks aren't really making every single note up on the spot. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're playing phrases and ideas and licks that they've already done, and you hear them in other solos that they've done too. When I transcribe a ton of Al Di Meola's stuff, I start seeing phrases and licks that he's done in several solos. Same when I transcribed a bunch of Randy Rhoads stuff or Ed Van Halen, I see a lot of licks that Eddie does in several of his solos. It's normal. So it's okay to repeat and throw them out, because when you play a lick, the same lick in a different key, maybe a different tempo, and end it differently, then it doesn't sound like you're doing the same lick. Okay, so it's all right to do that. Joshua, you're very welcome. And let me see what Steve's saying here. Learning that now in GT, guitar tricks, Lagrange, Billy Gibbons, of course. Yeah, Billy's awesome. Yep, very cool. Looks like I've been doing it slightly too much motion. Haha. Yeah, just kick back and work on your technique. So let me quickly show everyone the last lick, number 7. This one is not really a lick that you're going to play in a solo, but it's a really good sweep picking exercise. Okay, I call it the X because it kind of looks like it crosses like that. The first 4 notes, watch my right hand or my left hand, were 8 on string 4, 7 on string 3, 6 on string 2, 5 on string 1. It's actually a major 7 chord. Played that way, it's a major 7 arpeggio. The pinky note is the root note. It's a B flat major 7 chord. Okay, it sounds real pretty. But what we're we're going to do, though, is we're not going to keep our fingers down. It sounds messy. You want to walk your fingers. See what I do on my left hand? I take my fingers off one at a time. I don't start with them down. I got the pinky, third, middle, index. Okay? And look at my right hand. 4 downs, not 4 separate, but 1 big down. And then the X part of it I mentioned to you is where we flip it the other way, and this makes a really interesting chord. But geometrically, it just looks like the same thing reversed. 8 on the first string, 7 on the second, 6 on the third, and 5th fret on string 4. And we're using the fingers pinky, ring, middle, index on both ends. And then for my upstrokes on the latter part, I'm doing 4 ups, but not 4 separate strokes, but dig your pick in. So it's really like you're doing this. See, that's another way to practice your sweeping to get the idea is mute your strings and just do 4 downs and then 4 ups. Okay, but that's good to get the right hand going, but we also don't forget to synchronize the pick with the fingers. If the fingers aren't synchronized with the pick, vice versa, it's not going to sound good. All right, so you want to take it slow. See my right hand? 1 big down, 1 big up. You see how I'm changing the angle of the pick a little bit? I'm not doing this or this. I'm just slightly changing. I'm just turning my wrist just a little bit. Also sounds kind of nice to give it a little bit of a woofier sound on the middle pickup. And here's another one for everybody. Move it up a fret. Look at my right hand, up a fret. Okay, sounds kind of crazy, kind of wacky, but it's a great picking exercise for the sweep picking. So before we get into the monster 5, 6 string arpeggios, really got to get the hang of 2 strings and 3 strings. And this last little one I gave you, everybody, is a 4 string arpeggio sweep. So got to get those down first. If those don't sound smooth and correct, then the big 5 or 6 string ones aren't going to be any better. They might be even more frustrating. So we're going to wrap it up tonight. Good comments and good to see a good group of folks here paying attention. Yep. So, Second Chance Band. You're welcome, Marianne. Yep, appreciate it. Oh, you're too kind, Marianne. Terry, yep, you're welcome. Steve, you're welcome. Danny, cool. Jim, Gregory, yep. Right on. John, cool. Have a great holiday weekend. Yeah, that's right. It's Easter weekend coming up. Right on. All right, Joshua, yep. You're welcome. David, yep. And Zane and King, cool. So next week, we're going to be working on, let me see. Oh, next week, we're going to be doing some more economy picking and sweep picking with the 5 string arpeggio shapes. Yep. Cool. All right. Awesome. Yeah. So tune in next week. So I'm not going to leave you hanging with just the 2, 3, and 4 strings. We're going to do more of this next week. I think covering 2 weeks on sweep picking is worth it because sweep picking, as cool as it is, it's a elusive technique to get really good. So tune in next Wednesday, same time, everyone. I'll see you then. In the meantime, fire up your metronome. Sorry I didn't hit mine tonight, but next week we'll do a little bit of that for sure. Nice working with everybody. reach out to me if you have any questions at my website. You can reach me through my email at my website, davesalentano.com. Or if you're a Guitar Tricks member, you can do that too. Or you can reach me in the forum in Guitar Tricks. And you know what? I meant to post this too. Let me throw this up there really quick here for everybody. Just this is some good sweep picking basics that Christopher Schlegel teaches on Guitar Tricks. I want to put this link in there for everyone before I sign off so you can grab this. That's a good lesson right there from Christopher. And then there's another gentleman, instructor on the site, with introduction to sweep picking. This good to see a few takes, different instructors' takes on this. There's 2 links for everybody if you're still tuned in here. If you're a Guitar Tricks member, those are 2 really good sweep picking sites, not sites, but sweep picking lessons on Guitar Tricks. And obviously you got to be a member. And if you're not, it's real easy to sign up. They've got money back guarantee. They might even have a sale going on too. So good to see everyone. I'll see you next Wednesday and we'll do more sweep picking. So I'll be for sure to post some more. There's some really cool advanced sweep picking lessons on Guitar Tricks too. I will share them with everyone next week. Everyone be good. Peace. Keep those fingers flying on your fretboard. All right. Keep practicing. See ya.